What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to 49ers First Takes. It's been a while since I just did a First Takes live stream here on the channel with just without any co-host. And today I have a really special guest, Matt Lively from CBS Bay Area Sports. I think it's KPIX TV. I know you cover the 49ers. I catch you on the live stream after the games on TikTok, so I know you do your post game on there. Um, I've seen the thing that's pinned to your timeline with you dancing with Kendrick Bourne. So you seem like a pretty fun guy. So I figured, why the hell not get you to talk a little 49ers for the next like 30 minutes or so. And we could talk a little bit about the upcoming game and some of the more pressing news that's been going on, like all the trade deadline kind of hubbub that's came up in the last couple of days since the Niners decided to do nothing. And what else? We could talk about injuries. Seems to always be a fresh crop of injuries every single day. So, Matt, how are you doing? And I want to know, and for the audience, who Matt Lively is.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. Excited to do this. I know we've been talking about a while about being able to get on here and enjoying the podcast. So, yeah, Matt Lively. I work for CBS Sports Bay Area, KPIX, which is the local affiliate here in San Francisco, covering the 49ers. That means being down in the locker room during the week at practice, watching what's going on, and then going to the home and away games and covering the Niners for CBS here. And also a lot of times CBS on kind of more of a national scale when CBS Sports HQ comes and they want hits and things like that. So there's always a lot to do when it comes to the 49ers because there seems to be a massive story or a massive injury every single week with the red and gold.
I think injuries are an understatement with this team. One of the big things, one of the biggest news things that are going on right now. Actually, before I ask it, I want to ask you real quick. You're new. Like I haven't seen you up until recently. And you look young. So you're definitely one of the newer guys on the block that I started paying attention to. And I just wanted to say that I love your coverage of the 49ers. And so, but yeah,
Well,
I
thank
just
you.
want,
Yeah,
I just
appreciate
wanted
that.
to, I just wanted to say that. But the trade deadline, it came and went. The Niners didn't do anything. There wasn't no activity. I've kind of I've been on like the middle with this one. So depending on who I talk to, they can kind of talk me into their viewpoint. If I talk to one person and they'll be like, hey, they're doing what's best for the future. They didn't want to overspend or get taken advantage of at the trade deadline and give away too much for what's essentially a rental. And then there's the people that are like, how could you not? Look at the injuries, look at all the roster situation going on. What is your opinion of the situation, seeing that you're so close to it every day?
It's really funny because let's go back to Sunday. Had the 49ers lost to the Giants, I think we're not even talking about adding. We're talking about them potentially selling off pieces. Like
Right.
there was a real world where maybe like Jason Pinnock or Jair Brown or maybe even Jawan Jennings was traded had the Niners not won on Sunday. They do. They're 6-3. Really impressive given the fact that they don't have Bosa, Warner. Now you're not going to have Michael Williams. But at the end of the day, you're without those three guys. There was no trade that could have been made by John Lynch in this front office that covers that up. And when you saw what some of these guys were going for, like Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, and I'm not saying the Niners would have been in on players of that caliber, but the prices were steep. And John Lynch basically came out today and he said we weren't going to be had. Like we weren't just going to make a trade to make a trade.
Right.
And so I think a lot of fans are going, we're 6-3, we're right there. Like add somebody. That's just not how trades work. Um, I thought Keon White was right in their ballpark of the kind of caliber guy they were going to go get, which is somebody that you're probably not that familiar with, is more of a depth guy that's going to have to step up. Kind of like Bryce Huff, who's panned out really well. But I never anticipated that the Niners were going to make a big splash. They were going to go get Trey, that they were going to get Kayvon. I never saw that happening. And I think my opinion on it is you want this window to stay open as long as you possibly can. The reality is, we don't know the version of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner that you're going to get next year. And so the 49ers need all the picks they can get to either make a trade in the offseason or reload and rebuild through the draft, which is what they need to do. I think a lot of fans are very quick to dismiss the fact that they are 6-3 this year because they've got guys like D. Winters and Tatum Bethune and Upton Stout, who's playing in a starting role, and Malik Mustafa. These are guys the Niners drafted and developed. You need that moving forward to keep this window open without a lot of money to spend. So I say mortgaging the future. Fans pushed back on that. How are you going to mortgage the future when it's a fourth rounder? Well, the fourth rounder is where the 49ers find a lot of gyms.
True.
So I didn't think it was a great idea for them to just make a trade to make a trade. And then this team gets bounced in round one of the playoffs.
What do you say to the people who? Because I mean, I follow and I love. I actually do a podcast on Fridays with Sterling Bennett from
Sure.
95.7 The Game, 49ers Access. I watch Larry Kruger. I watch Joe Shasky, and like I think the one thing Shasky was saying was like, it feels like they're like kind of waving the white flag, like we're 6-3, but maybe we don't have a lot of confidence in the roster that we have this year. So to add a piece and to give away something for next year, he thought like it sent the wrong message to the fan base, especially the fan base who pays the money they do for tickets, to kind of know that your front office really isn't invested into this year and they're kind of looking to the future. I think some people don't want to hear that. Like they don't want to hear that kind of reasoning. Like I said, I'm on the fence depending on the argument. I understand not mortgaging the future, especially if it's a guy that's you're going to have to give up in 12 weeks and he's going to be a free agent. The Trey Hendrickson deal was never going to happen. I knew that as a fan. Same thing with Thibodeau. But the fact that they did nothing was eye-opening, because I think all of us fans, for the most part, thought they were going to do something. And to come out of it with nothing, I think we did it to ourselves as fans. Like we got ourselves overly excited for it and we gave ourselves that letdown. But I don't know. Like I feel like we'll go as far as we can go with this roster with the injuries that we have. But I don't know. Like I wanted them to do something to kind of give me. I think them doing nothing kind of give me an inclination of where they kind of see this team behind closed doors. And it's not what, like, I don't think this team has a long playoff push in them. I think they're a wild card at best, just based on all the injuries. But to see that the front office is essentially saying the same thing by making no move or having inactivity, it's still kind of eye opening that they would openly admit it out loud, really, but not say anything. I think one thing too was like they were so open in the off season about this being a reset year and how they were, like
Hmm.
you kind of got a vibe that the priorities, or not the priorities, the expectations of this team were lower, and they were kind of open about it just by the way they talked about things. Again, that's tough for a fan base who's been in the conference championship games more times than not in the last 6 years, who's been in 2 Super Bowls. Like fans don't want to hear that. So I understand the rage and kind of like the people making just outrageous takes, making videos, attacking other content creators over stuff like that. It's crazy. But some people are more passionate. Some people are more pragmatic. They look at things very analytically. I'm, like I said, I've been teetering on this one. So I don't know. Like it's tough now. Now I just like, okay, here we go with the guys we have. And then you look at the injury list today and it's more news, more guys on the
Yeah.
injury list. So it makes it
I,
more obvious that they didn't make a move now that they have Keon White added to the injury list.
here are kind of the points I would make is like they did make a move. They got Keon White. Like that was the move. It just didn't come on deadline day. It came a week before.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is like fans don't want to hear this, but John Lynch is not thinking about what he has to tell the fans for his bottom line. Like his bottom line is making a winning football team. Like let's go back to the preseason when all these wide receivers were hurt. Everybody wanted them to trade for a wide receiver. Go out and get somebody. Can we bring Amari Cooper in? Why didn't you sign Devontae Adams? Wide receivers have honestly been fine. Like even without Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk, the passing game has been fine. Mac Jones is fourth in passing yards per game this year. So the same people who wanted a wide receiver are the same people who wanted them to add a defensive end or a defensive tackle. It's just not how John Lynch is going to act. That's not how he's going to do his job. And I would push back and say, like, who were you going to go get? To the fans who wanted this move, I know Jermaine Johnson was the name that kept being thrown out there, and
Mhm.
Bradley Chubb. Those are two guys who are so injured. Like Jermaine Johnson has missed significant amounts of time with injuries. Bradley Chubb, ACL. So you wanted to go out, spin picks on a guy that has been injured and has an injury history. Like that's the whole thing about this team. So I think, you know, it's easy, even for me, it's easy to be like the Madden GM almost. Oh, we could have gone out and gotten this guy. Like at the end of the day, that's not how an NFL trade is operated. It's very two-sided. And from what the Niners are telling us, it there wasn't a deal to be made because the price was too steep. And when you really look around the league, there was Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, a couple wide receivers dealt, and then some really back end defensive line guys, kind of like Keon White traded. But
True.
there's a reason that Chubb and Jermaine Johnson didn't get moved. And so I think like it's easier said than done that they should have just made a trade. Well, for who and what were they giving up? And is that guy going to be injured in a week on this roster?
Yeah, it's and here's the thing. Here's the flip side of it is we make that deal, he gets hurt. Then the same people are going to attack John Lynch for going after a guy and be like, see, he went after a guy that has
100%.
injury history. So he either way he's kind of screwed. If he makes the move, if he doesn't make the move.
It's a lose lose for John Lynch. And that I just don't like no GM or coach should be making decisions to make fans happy. And
No,
I
you
know that
can't.
sounds so counterintuitive, but like they get paid a lot of money because they have this like vast knowledge and
And
information that we don't have access to.
right, and they're not easily swayed. Like they have their way
Correct.
about doing things.
Correct.
If GMs and coaches uh operated like we do as a normal, everyday consumer who goes and watch football games, everybody would be trading first round picks. You know what I mean? Like it would be craziness. So
Correct.
I understand that side of the argument. Coming from a guy like myself, I'm almost 46. So I've been a 49er fan going back to about 1990, 1989. It's to I grew up to an era where the mantra was Super Bowl or bust. And if
Yeah.
you didn't win a Super Bowl, it was a failure. This is hard for me as a fan to kind of go through a season like this because you see the Philadelphia Eagles and you see that they're always kind of putting their foot to the gas pedal and always trying to improve their team. I'm not saying that Lynch hasn't done that in the past. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is one of the biggest trades we've ever made. I mean, he might win, offensive player of the year this year, MVP. I don't know. Probably won't win the MVP, but it'll probably be a quarterback. But it's just insane. Like it's hard for fans like myself to swallow that when you're like, we're 6-3. But when I talked to my guy Sterling Bennett, me and him were like, we're 6-3, but we're not going to win a championship this year. Like it's just obvious. It's just there's too many obstacles with all the injuries. You know what I mean? Like you have like the defense is just so hampered. And when you get into the playoffs, one of the two things you have to bring with you is your defense and your running game. The Niners have been super inconsistent with their run game, and their defense is like walking mash units. So those two things can't coexist at the same time. Um, Injuries. So before I message you like the final message, like, hey, are we doing this or whatever? I look and there's the Keon White injury that pops up on my screen. And I'm just like, oh my God. What do you make of that? Is it like my whole thing with the injuries this year have been the injuries that happen after games where guys are fine and we go into Monday and they're fine. And then we hit Tuesday and all of a sudden
What
either
happened?
where all these injuries cropping up from? Any thoughts on the Keon White injury and like you can understand why 49er fans are like upset now because they're like, see, we should have made a move. Now Keon's hurt. So I would just want to
It's
get your
like, hey,
thought on that.
the guy we made a move for just got hurt.
It's
At this point, it just feels like a curse. What was interesting to me is that Keon White, I wasn't down at the facility today, but we had a camera there, and Keon White still spoke to the media after practice, which I thought
okay.
was bizarre. And in my mind, if it was really serious, he probably wouldn't have even addressed the media whatsoever. He would have been in the training room, and he probably went and did that after. But there's more of an urgency. Like if there's a real chance you're going to miss the game on Sunday, you're not typically hanging around in the locker room during that media portion. So tomorrow is going to be the big day for that. Let's see where he is at tomorrow. I honestly think the bigger name that hasn't practiced in 2 days is D Winters.
Okay.
That's the one I'm circling and going, uh-oh. Like he's we're all marveling over Tatum Bethune as we should. 16
Crazy.
tackles. He was excellent on Sunday against the Giants. But a big reason for that is because D Winters is playing really well. If they don't have D Winters, it's Curtis Robinson out there probably or Luke Gifford with a combination of Tatum Bethune. That is, in my mind, Matt Stafford just making money over the middle all day long, and Kyron Williams having a field day. So I think that's the bigger issue right now to circle and go, what's happening here? The fact that Keon was in the locker room was positive. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, Alfred Collins also popped up on that one too, but I know he's
He
been
did.
dealing with some stuff. So
Yeah.
that's a scary one because, for a lot of people coming into the season, Alfred Collins, a lot of people were down on him, media guys too. Like he was the one guy that because he came in late, but he's
Yeah.
been to me the most exciting player who's made the
I,
most.
I do want to say really quick, not sorry to cut you off. The
That's all right.
preseason, we've got to stop like hyping these guys up or dooming these guys from training camp in the preseason. Because I noticed that well. There was all this negative talk like, oh, Alfred Collins is going to be a bust. Week 5, he punches the ball out and he's like the defensive MVP all of a sudden. We tend to probably as a society at this point, we want to just give such an instant reaction to everything so quickly. I noticed this stuff in training camp where like one wide receiver who doesn't make the team ran in one incredible route and people are
Yep.
propping him up like, this guy might be wide receiver 3 this year. And then he gets cut a week later. It's like, we got to just pump the brakes on some of this stuff a little bit because
I
Alfred
think it.
Collins is probably always going to be a pretty decent player.
I think it's the ESPN culture that we live in. When you have
Totally.
show like First Takes and Part of the
Totally.
Interruption, where it's all about overdoing it completely, like something
It's
happens and
24/7. We have to talk about something.
like a quarter, like Jalen, what is it? Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
the Commanders quarterback last year. Everybody's saying he's like the second coming, and then he's had a sophomore slump. He's been hurt a lot. Like everybody's so quick to make these like wild generalizations, and it's crazy.
Stephen A syndrome.
It is Stephen A syndrome. I mean, hey, I like he makes a really good living doing what he's doing. I'm not gonna hate.
Totally.
Not gonna hate. He knows he knows what he's doing. It works. People like controversy. People draw to that
Yeah.
kind of content. A lot of loudmouth kind of yelling all the time. Like people like that stuff. And even if they don't like it, they watch it anyways. So either way,
Right.
they get the engagement they're looking for.
Right.
The one other player that you said that we tend to make too much out of the preseason was Nick Martin. I mean, I was asking a friend who I stream with about him, and he made the comment like he's like not like from what I thought he was in the preseason and how incredible he played. He just says he's not good enough to start, and I was just like, yeah, but he looks so great in the preseason. It's like, well, yeah, it's the preseason, but he's also wildly crazy when it comes to
Yes.
tackling and missing tackles. So that's a little concerning, you know what I mean? Because with the draft class being so dependent on to be great this year,
Totally.
um,
They took
how
him
do
in
you
the
feel
third
about
round,
that?
and it was a reach when they took him. Like on draft night, I've
Yeah, a
got
lot of people.
tweets of where he was projected to go. And it's like they feels like they could have waited a couple rounds to grab this guy. But you're
Right.
right. There were articles being written that maybe he could start over D Winters
Hmm.
by in week 1. And it's like, hold on. And he's been a scratch every game until Fred Warner gets hurt.
What's your take on the quarterback situation this year? You already know it's like Mac Jones is looking great. Do we have a quarterback controversy? And then as far as Brock Purdy, like, so it's so hard to figure out with these press conferences. They don't really say anything from week to
No,
week. It's kind of
they're
the
very good
same.
at that.
Yeah, they're like politicians. They say a lot of nothing. You're like, what just happened? Oh, nothing's new. It's the same press. Like you could literally, it's like Groundhog Day, the movie. It's the same. Just
Yes.
plug in last week's press conference. It's the same thing. Thoughts on the Purdy injury and in the Mac Jones situation?
I've kind of stood by this opinion this whole time. I can give you 265 million reasons why there's not a quarterback controversy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like that's how I feel about it. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are tied to Brock Purdy. Literally in the press conference that ended the season last year, Kyle Shanahan said, "I am tied to Brock the rest of my time here." So there's no way in which they got Jed York to pay Brock Purdy $265 million to then go, uh, yeah, we're just going to go with Mac Jones now. That's not going to happen. Mac has played out of his mind. He has given you exactly what you pray a backup can give you, plus some. The fact that
Yeah.
he's won 5 of his 7 starts has been incredible. I think this turf toe injury is way more involved than most people realize. I think turf toe sounds kind of trivial. You got a toe injury, go play. It ended Patrick Willis's career.
It
There's
did.
multiple players who have said, like, I didn't come back from turf toe. And one
Dion.
wrong move, yeah, one wrong move, completely throws you off. Rocky even said it, like, that Jacksonville game probably wasn't smart of him to play in. So I think as long as Mac continues to give you these results, let him go. But at a certain point, Steve Young was making this point yesterday, which I thought was interesting. He said,
I
Brock's
saw
going to
that.
have to say, I want my team back. And Brock's not that kind of guy. I don't think Mac Jones is that kind of guy. But I do think when Brock Purdy goes to Kyle Shanahan and says, I'm playing this week, I'm fine, there's not really a discussion to be had. I think Brock will get that final answer. And for the people who want a quarterback controversy, if Brock goes out there and injures himself and the toe gets worse, you're back to Mac Jones, who the fans love right now. It's like this vicious cycle, though. You have Jimmy, then there's Trey, then there's Brock. And it's like, okay, we love Brock, but now Brock's established, so we like Mac a little bit more. And it just seems to be this thing year after year. So right now, Mac's the guy because Purdy's got paid and he has all these expectations. But this is Brock Purdy's team. When Brock's ready to come back, it will be his job. And I think the most brilliant part about all this, you're going to get to trade Mac Jones this offseason and get a pretty good package of picks back.
Interesting. Um, Purcell and Ayuk, two
Yeah.
injuries, two different situations. Purcell thing, I've been a little bit tough on him because I don't know, man. Like I he missed a lot of time last year. Was injured in training camp. Then we had the situation that happened. Of course, couldn't help that. And then this year, and I was made to understand by someone how significant a PCL injury actually is.
Yeah.
So I've been pretty disappointed in that situation. And then with the Ayuk one, again, it's more of the same. Like it's a lot of non-answered answers when you ask John and Kyle about it.
Yeah.
What's your honest opinion? Do you think he comes back this year?
I definitely thought week 10 was the range we would see Brandon Ayuk. They've been really quiet about it. I mean, Kyle Shanahan yesterday said he's pretty confident he's going to play. That's kind of a different answer than what we've been hearing.
Yeah,
Before it was like he's progressing great. He's going to be out here. Now he's pretty confident he's going to be out there. I do think the Niners are going to slow play where they're at in the standings and whether or not Brandon Ayuk plays.
exactly what I
He
was
blew
thinking
up
too.
his knee. This wasn't like an ACL injury.
No,
He
it was
tore his knee apart.
the whole thing.
The
PCL,
whole
MCL.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. And for a guy whose whole job is running routes and making sharp cuts, I think it's hard to just rush him back. And I think it's just not taking the way they wanted it to take, which is kind of the trend here. It's like that's what they're going to have to answer this offseason. Is it a medical staff thing? Like Ricky's got the PCL sprain. They
ugh,
never really put a timeline on this, but
yeah.
Kyle keeps saying it's not healing the way we thought it was going to heal. Why is that? So I think they're going to have to ask themselves that question. I would push back on the Ricky thing a little bit. Like the guy got shot. Like he could have missed all of last season.
He
I
could
don't
have.
think anyone would have batted an eye. Still
No,
went out there, played really well. This was one of those, he made like a crazy acrobatic catch out of bounds and he lands on his knee. It's just bad luck. But I do think, I was there and I asked him how it felt after that game, and he said he felt instability. You don't want to mess with that.
no.
And right now, with Christian McCaffrey being a top 10 wide receiver, and you're getting by with Kendrick Bourne, you haven't needed him yet.
Yeah,
Um, like I wouldn't say they lost in Houston because Ricky Pearsall wasn't out there. They lost in Houston because they just sucked. Like the defense wasn't making stops. Mac Jones had a bad game. Christian McCaffrey got shut down in the running game.
yeah.
But it's hard for me to, I think Ricky will eventually come back. Whether or not Ayuk comes back, I really think it's going to be where are we and how healthy is he? It's not worth bringing him back if we're not making the playoffs and he re injures this thing.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last thing I want to ask you about, honest feelings about the Rams game. I mean, what
Mm.
kind of Herculean effort do we need in order to beat them this time? A lot of people, I forgot what I saw online. Somebody was kind of like a similar, like a run the ball 40 times, kind of eat a ton of clock and score when we have to. Essentially, how we beat them uh, back a couple weeks ago. How are you feeling about the Rams game? I think this is. I don't know if I'm picking them to win this week personally. When we do our picks on our show tomorrow, I don't see it. But I would love to be talked off that ledge.
It's funny. Week 5, they were 8.5 point dogs, I think.
Hmm.
It's their first game without Bosa, no Jawan, no Ricky. And I
Right.
thought, oh my God, they're gonna get, and I traveled for that game and I was like, oh geez, maybe we should have saved the flight money. Like they're gonna get laughed out of SoFi. It was one of the best games I've seen.
Was
And
great.
and now I have this weird confidence that like they're gonna hang around, which means they're gonna get bounced by 20 points in this game.
Right. I
Uh
hate that too. Every time I
like I
get
have this
confident.
weird,
Yep.
I think it really comes down to Christian McCaffrey. The games that they're winning, Christian just goes off. Like he does it in through the run game and through the pass game. This time around, I truly think Stafford's just going to torch the defense. I
At
think
least you're
without
honest.
Fred, yeah, I mean that's how I feel. Like Stafford torched him last time. Stafford put up, I think, nearly 400 yards. Um,
Yes.
and I just don't know if you can bet on them to have similar success again against this Rams defense after they saw how they attacked them in week 5. I'm leaning towards LA winning this game.
As am I. Yeah. Like I just being realistic about the situation. I just I look at all the factors and I'm just like it's going to take that. I mean, they'd have to win a shootout. I really believe that.
Right.
They look like they were capable last week of winning a shootout with the Giants, but the Giants aren't that good of a team. So it's kind of like every time they win, I kind of have to adjust my expectations depending on the week.
Right.
Where can we find you? I know, like I said, you're on X, you're on Instagram. Any other places that you put out content that people
Yeah.
can find you at?
Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, and then a ton on TikTok. And my username is easy. It's at Matt Lively on all of the platforms. And then, of course, you can catch me on TV on KPIX Channel 5 if you live in San Francisco or just CBS Sports Bay Area. But I put all my content, especially a ton of stuff from the locker room, on Twitter, X, at Matt Lively, and on TikTok, same username.
You definitely have a different way demeanor than some other content creators who kind of have almost a shtick. I don't notice the shtick. You just kind of
No,
deliver it.
it's just me. I try not to do a shtick. I'm here to relay information because I have a job that I love and I'm lucky enough to be in the locker room and cover athletes and cover professional
Awesome.
sports. So I'm here to give it to the fans.
That's awesome, and I really appreciate you making time to come on here. I know you got to get going.
Definitely.
I would love to do something in the future down the road. I wish, maybe a Super Bowl a week interview when you're on
Yeah,
radio.
there we go.
Maybe I can get you for 10 minutes on that one. But everybody, thank you so much for popping in here and giving me and Matt a watch. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the Cover 3 podcast. Matt, it's been such a pleasure. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. Appreciate it.
Been a lot of fun. Thanks, man.
Thanks.